regional hustings for your party in Wales. I'd like to welcome everybody this afternoon, and I would like to thank very much all the candidates for attending, and I'd like to thank all the people watching as well. And I hope you enjoy listening to what the candidates have got to say, and you find it interesting and informative. The core purpose of these hustings is so candidates can present their case directly to members, and that members can ask questions and assess candidates, and that this process is transparent, democratic and regionally rooted. Okay, I will now begin by asking Martin O'Neill to present his opening statement. If you'd like to start, please, Martin.
Okay, thank you for that, Mary. We need to build a party as a social movement embedded in the communities it seeks to represent. I am standing as an independent candidate representing no faction or slate, as I strongly believe the party should be an inclusive, broad church. If the experiences of the past few months have taught us anything, it is factional discord does nothing to engage the people and communities we seek to represent. I welcome constructive and respectful debate and dialogue across a wide spectrum of socialist perspectives. We need to work with communities to make meaningful changes that address the issues people face. From its inception, I've been an active member of the Swansea Proto Branch, which is now an established and active branch that provides a good model of inclusivity, engagement, and community action. Socialism must be embedded in community action, and as such, my priorities would be to establish and empower local branches, ensure their formal establishment of the party in Wales happens as quickly and as smoothly as possible, i.e. the conference, representing the context and culture of Wales and providing a strong voice for Wales at the Your Party table, and providing transparency of process and decision making. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. Thank you. So when people have got 15 seconds left, I'll hold that up just to remind you. That's helpful. Thank you very much. Right. Okay. So next up, it's Sue. Are you ready, Sue? Right.
Unmute.
I'll give you
There
the thumbs up when we're ready to go. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So the reason I'm standing for this first founding CEC is because your party has to get off on a sound footing. I'm obsessive about democracy. That doesn't mean the sort of democracy we have in the country, where who owns the media wins. It doesn't mean a democracy where the most powerful or well-connected can control the narrative. It means everybody is included in discussions and everyone's voice is heard. That's what we've got to establish in your party. It's not just structure. The rules have consequences on how things work and they need to be carefully thought through. But it's also the culture. We need a culture where we recognise that all our ideas hold merit, where we respond with, not with yes, but with yes and. So far, we've been divided, from the public spats between Zara and Jeremy to the formation of slates for this election that's deepened that divide. The first job of the CEC is to mend that, and that's where I feel my strength lies. We've had a lot of unfair practices so far. My democratic antennae have picked up a few things that weren't right. Lack of independent oversight, a huge discrepancy in funding and access to email and social media between candidates, no information about voting systems, the ordering of candidates. Everything so far seems to be in favour of the slate.
Can I stop you there, please, Sue? Thank you. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. And next person, Lizzie. Are you ready, Lizzie?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Well, noswaith dda bawb. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lizzie Bailey, and I'm standing for the CEC as an independent candidate for Wales. I'm currently based in Cardiff. Firstly, I wanted to outline how great it is to have an official Your Party Hustings for the CEC elections, particularly as Wales has had almost no contact or recognition from Central Your Party since we held the Merthyr meeting in October last year. Despite only having 48 hours notice, I'm lucky enough to be able to attend this hustings today. The same cannot be said for Your Party members who have childcare or other caring responsibilities, members with disabilities that require prior notice to make reasonable adjustments, or members who are working in precarious employment and can't just take a day off with no notice. Accessibility is a basic requirement that unfortunately has taken a backseat in Your Party. This will be one of my key priorities if elected to the CEC. Member participation is key for Your Party to succeed, which is why I'd also push for data and finances to be released and for interim measures to be put in place in the meantime. There is no reason Central Your Party cannot send comms out on our behalf or support branches being set up by paying invoices on their behalf for meeting venues. Welsh members are frustrated with the radio silence and needing to work twice as hard just to meet their fellow members, and this needs to change. I will bring a strong voice for ordinary Welsh members and ensure members' needs are always my number one priority. Diolch. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, right. Thank you very much for that. And oh, we've lost Maria's camera. Hi, Maria. Hello. Maria, could you possibly turn your camera on? We seem to have got Artin, we seem to have got a technical problem with Maria's camera. If you could just bear with me for a moment, we'll just see what we can do to get Maria back online. Hello, Maria. Okay. So if you just like to bear with me, we seem to have a technical problem with Maria, and we're hoping that she'll be able to come back in online. She's obviously lost a broadband connection. Okay. Right, okay. I think we're gonna actually have to move on without Maria, and we'll give her the opportunity to make a statement later. Right, okay, so moving on to the first question. Martin, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Martin. So the first question will be, how can we get Wales's autonomous structures up and running as quickly as possible?
Okay, well, I think really central to this really is the conference. We really need to get the conference organised and get it in place. I can't see any reason why we can't, to be honest. And as part of that then will be facilitating the branches. We will need to get, I think Lizzie said this earlier on, is that we need to get access to the data so that we can get in contact with the members that we've got. We need to make those contacts, make the networking, organise the conference. From the conference, then we can have some validity to the branches, and then get our constitution, our structure in Wales set up comprehensively and on a firm footing, so going forward.
Okay, thank you very much, and you've got some spare time there, so thank you for that contribution. Okay, that's good. Right, okay, so moving on to the second person, Sue. So can you see the question up on the screen? I can read it out to you as well, if you like.
Yeah, I think I've written it down. It's my phone screen is tiny, but yeah.
Don't worry, I'll read it out. how can we get Wales's autonomous structures up and running as quickly as possible?
Right. There's two bits of autonomous structures. One is the branches being autonomous. One is the conference. So I think with the branches, we've had proto branches who've done a lot of great work, but they've had their hands tied behind their backs through lack of data and resources. There are a few, I'm not sure that this has happened in Wales, but certainly across the UK, that have been dominated by one faction and aren't welcoming to everybody. So we need to start branches kind of from scratch by inviting every member living in the area. And that could be done by your party centrally, could be done very soon. Meetings need to be hybrid. I'd suggest an official forum for written comments too. The rules for branch formation are there, and once they're in place, they can receive data and funds. As far as conference is concerned, it's important to get it going early, again through emails from your party centrally. We have to invite all members to take part, but also to develop documents, write motions and amendments, attend and vote. And we've got to balance speed with getting it right as quick as we can, but get it right. It's important because the conference will be a decision-making body that will set policy, which will affect our standing in Senedd and any potential by-elections coming up afterwards.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, welcome back, Maria. I'm glad you managed to get sorted. That's great. I think what we'll do is we'll finish the questions and then you can do your statements at the end. Okay. Moving on to the next person, Lizzie. Lizzie, are you ready to answer question 1? Would you like me to read it out to you?
No, that's okay. I've written it down. Thank you.
You've written it down. Okay, right, fine. So if you're ready to go, that's great.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, I think there's multiple parts to this question. I think the key part is member-led and being grassroots-based. Members have already been doing a lot of the work needed to set up Wales as an autonomous structure. Part of that is the branches. To my knowledge, there's 16 branches currently in Wales. All of those branches have been set up and functioning with no data, no finances and no support from Central Your Party. So to me, the best way to get Wales up and running as an autonomous structure is to continue to empower those members, give them access to data and finances. We do need to hold a conference. That is essential. That conference should be accessible. It should have decision-making powers around our relationship with Central Your Party, how we govern ourselves, where our resources are spent, things like that. We also do need a strong CEC candidate who's able to bring issues to the CEC, have open and clear direct communication channels so members in Wales know where they stand. Part of the work that I've been trying to do to resolve this has been the open letter that we sent on the 26th of Jan. Over 50 Welsh members signed that letter and there's still been no response calling for things like data, finances and access to these resources. So in my opinion, in order to get Wales set up and running autonomous as quickly as possible is to empower the members that are already trying their hardest to make that happen. And the CEC candidate needs to support that. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much, Lizzie. Thank you. Okay, right. And finally, Maria, the first question is, how do we get Wales's autonomous structures up and running as quickly as possible? If you could answer.
Firstly, I think there is no doubt, and I certainly believe that there must be an independent registered party in Wales that is your party, Wales. To do that isn't going to happen overnight because currently we don't have a constitution, and that constitution will need to be developed to meet the specific issues that our communities face and our members face. We have transport difficulties, we have our own government, and we must make sure that we have a constitution that reflects that. So to begin with, we must use, where it makes sense, the UK structure for finances, for membership, for subscriptions, moving in a phased way, meeting regulations. But first of all, what we've got to do is have that conference. I have fundamentally believe that conference must be now. I don't believe that we need to wait for a CEC rep or anyone else to make that happen. I want members, as they're doing now in a member-led party, out
Can you
there
finish up, please?
organising, make it happen.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Maria. Right, okay, I'm just deleting these alarms. Right, okay, so we'll now move on to question 2, and we'll start with Martin. Martin, how will you stand up for Wales's interest on the CEC if elected?
Okay, right. I really think we need to give a clear message to your party that we will do things differently in Wales, and that we will do things our way. I think it's very important that we link in with our branches, our proto branches, and I also think it's very important that the proto branches link in with their surrounding communities as well. I would very much like to take the proactive role of working with the branches and to engage with the surrounding communities, to ensure that the voice of the communities is related through the branches and therefore through to the wider party as well. I feel that the role I could play in that is connecting with the branches throughout Wales. You know, as I think Maria was saying earlier on, we've got lots of issues in Wales, particularly in relation to the distance issues. I think it's a bit of it'll stymie us a bit, the fact that we've only got the one rep. But I think that the role I would play is making those connections between the branches and the communities and to the party.
Okay, thank you very much. Brilliant. Thank you, Martin. Okay, right. Sue, are you ready? How will you stand up for Wales's interest on the CEC if elected?
So one of the internal matters that needs attention quickly is that Wales and Scotland have only one seat on the CEC. I've not heard any justification for this, except that Wales and Scotland may decide to go it alone at some point in the future, which isn't really a justification. So it's something I'd want to raise on day one. It's in the party rules, but it wasn't debated at conference, and that was because it was effectively the English majority of voters voted whether a Welsh-Scottish issue was worthy of debate. We should have had a greater say on that, and it mustn't happen again like that. So we've got our own political landscape in Wales, with Plaid Cymru being a significant leftish force. England's decisions aren't going to be the same as ours. We need to be able to put that perspective forwards. I don't think the UK party really understands devolution, with half our political issues decided by Westminster and the other half decided by the Senedd. So we have to have our own structure that relates to the Senedd and makes those decisions. I know the CEC shouldn't be deciding policy, but it will be working on the nuts and bolts of how policy is decided, and why should we have less than a say? So yeah, sort out that lack of a second member.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sue. Right, okay. And now we're moving on to Lizzie. Okay, Lizzie. So how will you stand up for Wales's interest on the CEC if elected, Lizzie? If you could start, please.
Yeah, thank you. Well, firstly, I will provide a clear line of communication and hold regular meetings where members can continuously raise their issues with me to bring to the CEC. I believe that members are best placed to understand their interests and to voice them. We just need a conduit to provide that communication channel, and I'm prepared to be that conduit. I'll stand up for Wales members' interests and challenge the Westminster focus that so far dominated a lot of your party conversations and structures. I'll push for a second CEC seat. I think that's really important. At the moment, we have half the representation of the English regions, and we have no gender balance. I think that's vital that we level that playing field by having a second seat. I'll also push again for some more support for the Welsh branches, and enable net members to come together to network, to be able to discuss, voice, raise their concerns amongst one another and solutions, and bring those solutions to the CEC where I can help enable them. Something else that I'm also keen to do, following my meeting on Tuesday with the independent CEC candidate for Scotland, Niall Chrissy, we're working together for a motion for fair representation to bring to the CEC at the first meeting. So to sort of summarise, and able to stand up for Welsh members' interests, we need to stop stifling members, empower them, able them to have a platform to bring their issues, and I'll bring those issues to the CEC and stand up for their voices. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lizzie. Thank you. Okay. Maria, would you like to tell everybody how you will stand up for Wales's interest on the CEC if elected?
Thank you. I think Wales members are very, very clear what they want from your party, which is member-led and to be the decision makers. And that is enshrined in the founding documents, which give us autonomy for Wales. And that fact that those were voted through by all members, wherever they're from, shows that we already have those existing relationships and networks. So we need to work in partnership, because we need to inform some people who don't realise that we have our own government. We require, therefore, different levels of funding. We need extra funding for translation of our language, which must be included in all we do. We have to have our own manifesto. That's going to require support. And to do that, we need to immediately move towards town halls and assemblies to get views of people and members pushed in. So in terms of opportunity, one of the things the CEC will have is a 5-officer committee running the day-to-day business of the party. Yep. Wales must have a seat in that party, in that group.
Thank you. Right, that's it. Okay. Oh gosh, what's going on here? Right. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you. Sorry, everybody. I'm just switching the alarm off there. Okay. Right. So that's the second lot of questions completed. Thank you very much. Maria, we have an opportunity for you to give your opening statement. Would you like to do that now, or would you like to do it at the end along with your closing statement?
I'll combine it at the end with
Okay.
my closing statement so that we get proceedings moving, if that's fine with all the other candidates.
If everybody else is okay. I think it's important you get the opportunity to do that. Okay, thank you. Right, okay, so we will move on to question 3, and this time we're actually going to start with Maria. We're going to reverse the order, because quite rightly Sue mentioned earlier that we should give candidates a fair chance. So starting with Maria, let me just get my phone alarm on. Question 3 is, Wales is a sizable nation. How will you ensure all members' voices are heard?
I think that we need to copy some of the amazing things that were done in New York to engage people everywhere. We are moving faster and faster into a digital world, but we're not yet using that digital world to enable everybody to have access. We have Zoom, we have opportunities to have online meetings, but we don't have the equipment And one of the first things we must do is fight for equipment so that all of our branches can have hybrid meetings, so that we can get out there in our communities and bring people together and actually talk to them about what we need to do for the future, finding all kinds of different ways to bring people in to talk and to feel that they actually belong to this movement and control it and can actually own it, deliver it, and take things forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, right. Okay, so then moving on to Lizzie. Lizzie, I'll just recap on the question. You've probably already written it down, but it's Wales is a sizable nation. How will you ensure all the members' voices are heard?
Sorry, is it okay to go? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I think part of this again is coming back to the branches. They do need to be created in a space that allows people to discuss and raise issues. Also sending motions to conferences to allow the members collectively to decide what our priorities are. In terms of across Wales, there are massive differences between the urban and rural areas in particular. And I do think the rural areas do need more support to be able to set up, as branches can be vast distances in between. Part of everything in my previous discussions has been around creating toolkits and guidance for branches that includes things like accessibility, so enabling hybrid access, but also for in-person venues, making sure that they are wheelchair accessible and things like that. That also ties into the data and finances, because venues that are accessible are usually more expensive, and that shouldn't be a barrier for people to access them. I also think there should be tailored support for rural branches, again, just because if there are a few number of barriers that they have to overcome. I also think it'll be important to allow branches to connect with one another. Lots of branches have already come up with solutions to those problems, and empowering members to identify problems as well as solutions will ensure that all of our voices are heard. It can't just sit with one person. I will do everything I can to raise those issues, but ultimately the members know what's best and how to solve those problems. They just need to have the barriers taken away from central Your Party. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lizzie. Thank you. Okay, so the next person will be Sue. You ready to go, Sue? Brilliant.
Yep.
Okay, so Wales is a sizable nation. What will you ensure? How will you ensure members' voices are heard?
Some of the issues other candidates have raised already. So one is the fact that our transport links are poor. It's not just that we have big rural areas with very poor transport, but it's that the links between north and south are really bad. So sometimes it's difficult to get a lot of people from different areas together, and it feels unfair, usually to the north. So yeah, in terms of so that means that we need to be able to have hybrid meetings as well as possible, and we need support from above, from the central structure of Your Party, to be able to put on those hybrid meetings. I know within our group we're very low on IT skills. So yes, Lizzie's mentioned accessibility. We need to think about timings of meetings so that you know, vary the times, vary the locations, vary online and offline, so different people have an opportunity. Also have written on text-based forums so people can discuss things. In terms of me, I would like to, I've pledged in my statement that I will visit each branch in person at least once in a year, and in between I will have an accessible way of them getting in touch with me, such as email.
Can I stop you there, please? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, and then finally, Martin. Wales is a sizable nation. How will you ensure all members' voices are heard? If you'd like to start, please.
Okay, I think this question fits in almost with the big theme of my whole candidacy candidacies, to be honest, is I keep on going on about how important I think it is for branches to engage with the communities that they are part of and that are around them as well. As the question implies, Wales is a sizable nation with lots of different demographics as well. So I think it's very important. The question says about how members' voices. Yes, members' voices, but through members, I think it's important to be engaged with the community voices as well. And if we engage within the communities of Wales, there's already groupings, there's already organisations already set up that we need to engage with. We can talk about trades unions, that there's organisations for elderly people, organisations for younger people as well, community councils even. But these are all sort of groups that we can engage with. So the networks are already there. Yes, technology is important. I wouldn't like to underestimate that in any shape or form. But at the same time, technology can be excluding for people as well. So I just think build on the networks that are already there, electronic and social.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Right, okay, so we're moving on to question 4, and therefore we'll start with Maria. Right, so question 4, Maria, if you're ready. Would you like to take your mic off mute? So as soon as I've read the question, you could answer. Question 4 is from a member called Kevin. And Kevin asks, in light of long-term underinvestment experienced in Welsh industrial towns since the 1980s and the disparity in funding compared to other parts of Britain, how would you campaign for replacing the outdated population-based Barnett formula with a needs-based model for Wales?
Thank you for your question, Kevin. The issue of the Barnett formula has been shoved from pillar to post for decades. First of all, Labour wouldn't address it because they were worried that it would be replaced by something far worse. And now they're in government, they haven't taken the opportunity to do that. Last year, there was an announcement that there would be a review of the Barnett formula, but nothing has moved on that. So we do need to push on that. In the interim, while that review is taking place, we need to start looking at how we can be less dependent on that mechanism, how we can have access to taxation that is raised in Wales, how the money that is being generated from Welsh energy, from Welsh water, can be used more for the benefit of Wales, and most definitely taking back the Crown estate into the hands of Welsh people, just as it is in Scotland. So it's a big issue. We need to build real strong political pressure on this. And Kevin is quite right. It is not working anymore. Thank you.
Perfect timing. Thank you, Maria. Can I just remind people, when it's not your turn to answer the question, please can you make sure your mic is on mute? I think I heard a few people there. I probably need to do it myself as well. Right, okay. Thank you very much, Maria. Lizzie, the question from Kevin, I'll just recap for you. In light of the long-term underinvestment experienced in Welsh industrial towns since the 1980s and the disparity in funding compared to other parts of Britain, how would you campaign for replacing the outdated population-based Barnett formula with a needs-based model for Wales?
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, so I think it's quite obvious that the Barnett formula is vastly outdated and needs to be replaced. There are people who are far smarter than me that have written detailed reports about what could actually replace it and better alternatives that are more equitable and fairer for the people of Wales. In my opinion, the only reason that hasn't already happened is because Wales is continuously sidelined by Westminster and Westminster politicians. That's why Wales needs an independent Welsh CEC candidate who's accountable to Welsh members and will push for their issues and concerns, who rather than a member, who's accountable to Westminster and politicians. I think we do need to do more with the powers that we already have in the Senedd. There are devolved powers that are currently underutilised, such as health policy is a devolved issue, that could bring more investment into Welsh communities. I think part of that also is to empower Welsh communities in order to campaign and call for better funding and a fairer representation for Wales overall. In my ideal world, I would have your party in power as a socialist government, making decisions that question things like the Barnett formula, bring in a fairer representation for all of our communities, but particularly the Welsh communities that have faced decades of underinvestment and austerity. So hopefully I can do everything I can on the CEC to push for that, but overall I think it's a central government issue that requires a socialist alternative to give proper funding to our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lizzie. Thank you. Okay, so you ready? Okay,
Yeah.
So I'll just recap again, just to be fair for all candidates. It's a question from a member called Kevin. In light of the long-term underinvestment experienced in Wales, in Welsh industrial towns since the 1980s, and the disparity in funding compared to other parts of Britain, how would you campaign for replacing the outdated population-based Barnett formula with a needs-based model for Wales?
I think some of the problem here is that actually a lot of people in Wales don't understand anything about the Barnett formula and don't understand that our funding in Wales is dependent on what Westminster decides will be the funding basically in England. So I think that's one of the messages we need to get across, what it is and why it's not fair, and why that has a significant impact on the money we have in Wales. And the problems aren't caused by immigrants, they're problems caused by the structure. I was going to mention Crown Estates as well. One of the things that applies to is thinking of the energy industry, which is something we do have potential for a lot of in renewable energy. There's tidal areas, which if it's not the Crown Estates that take the money, then that brings the money into Wales. I live in an industrial town, ex-industrial town really. A lot of the industry's gone. And we need to look as well at what we can do ourselves in our community. So we've been looking at how we use all the empty shops in the town centre, how we can create a community, bring people together in the town. And I think that's something we can do as well.
Please, Sue? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And finally, Martin, I'll read out the question for you too.
Okay.
So it's from a member from Kevin, and it's: in light of the long-term underinvestment experienced in Welsh industrial towns since the 1980s and the disparity in funding compared to other parts of Britain, how would you campaign for replacing the outdated population-based Barnett formula with a needs-based model for Wales? I'd like to start.
Okay. Being the product of Valley's industrial town myself, is a question very close to my heart, to be honest, and something I have been involved in working in my professional life as well. If you just look at the amount of wealth that has come out of the South Wales valleys in particular, and other industrial communities in Wales, not just in South Wales, but in North Wales as well, and the way that is underpinned the British Empire, is if a fraction of that wealth could be brought back into the valleys and into these post-industrial communities, they would not be suffering the problems that they are today. The whole sort of thing with the Barnett formula, yes, it is outdated. There's we need to look at a different approach. Saying that is that in the past, I think we have had, innovative initiatives in Wales where we had communities first, which the Welsh government, in their wisdom, decided to axe. It had its problems. I'm not disputing that it's had its problems, but the way that they utilised the Welsh Index of Multiple Deprivation rather than a population-based approach, I think would give us a basis of making it a more needs-based approach rather than a population-based approach. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's great. Thank you, Martin. Okay, right. So moving on to the final question. And I'll start with Martin this time, so we give everybody a fair chance of the order. So final question for Martin to answer first is, what position do you think the party should take towards the 2026 Senedd elections?
Okay. The only sort of issue with the 2026 Senedd elections is, personally, I would like to sort of see us contest these elections, but it's how prepared we're going to be and how prepared we're going to be in particular proto branches. I think some of the branches are more advanced than some of the other branches. As I sort of said, I personally would like to see that we are putting up your party candidates in certain areas, but we need to be pragmatic about that. I do think it's important that we just don't throw candidates up without any proper vetting, without any sort of proper support and issues like that. So we need to have a good backing and a good structure behind it before we decide that we're going to put up candidates in certain areas. I do think that we're in that position in certain areas, and I do think that the steering group, or the interim steering group, or whatever the governance structure is later on, needs to work with the proto branches to consult with local people and to be pragmatic as to where and when we can put up people. But yes, I would like to see us put up candidates.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Martin. Okay, and then I'll just repeat that question for Sue. Sue, what do you think the party what position do you think the party should take towards the 2026 Senedd elections?
Well, it's been clear from the gathering at Merthyr and then from the assembly in Cardiff that there's a lot of people who would like us to be standing candidates. The problem is, have we got the capacity to do that yet? So I was involved in writing the consultation document that went out to all the proto branches, looking at things like, have we got enough people? Can we raise enough resources? Are we going to be able to put on an election campaign that doesn't look, frankly, naff? It's got to work. So most branches came back with, yeah, we'd like to stand people, but we can't do it here. That was the most common result. And for those that can, we would like to go out and help those branches. And those branches that can put somebody forward, it'd be really, really good if they could stand under your party instead of having to stand under independent or under another banner, as there's a worry that they might have to at the moment. I think it would be so good if we just had even one member in the Senedd, and I think I mentioned Beth, but Beth could do it.
Okay, thank you very much, Sue. Okay, great. And now it's Lizzie's turn. Lizzie, what position do you think the party should take towards the 2026 Senedd elections?
Thank you. Yeah, I think, as I touched on earlier, I think it's really disappointing that Wales hasn't been supported enough to set up our own structures so that members could have answered this question. Members could have discussed and had a democratic decision-making process around what we do in the Senedd elections. There has been enough time in order for us to do that, but unfortunately, again, because of Central Your Party, this is the kind of conversation we're having. The new PR system in Wales means that we need approximately 12% of the vote to get a single candidate in the Senedd. So I think any action around the Senedd in standing candidates need to be targeted and very, very close, thought out to the local communities and how much support that person could have. Beth Winter, I think, could stand a good chance of winning, but she would need a lot of support in terms of door knocking, leafleting, fundraising, social media, things like that. Everything that would be supported by a fully established party. But again, we don't have that in Wales. I think we can use the Senedd as a great platform to get the name of the party out there, calling out the other parties where their policies are failing, what they're not doing good enough, but we can be outwardly facing in that without necessarily standing in elections. I think we also need to help build community trust. A lot of it has been lost due to the public facing arguments that have been having. And I think that standing in an election without resolving those issues could break the trust further. I think if we are going to stand, it should be very strategic, but I think we would be best placed to focus our attention on the elections next year, so we have enough time to properly build a campaign and get members involved to decide. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Sue, can I possibly ask you to mute your mic? Right, okay. Maria, final question. What position do you think the party should take towards the 2026 Senedd elections?
In a member-led organisation, the decisions have to be made by members. And I was actually really, really pleased to see the work that got done in our nation by our members in making this incredibly difficult choice about our 2026 general election, which is so vital. At the same time, we recognise, we all do, that we have a threat from the right, and we could be the first time ever seeing Wales, a country that hasn't got socialist MPs, if we're not very, very careful. So I respect the decision that members have made and made in Gorton recently, and there will be other big decisions we're going to have to make, is that it's their choice. They know the constituency. They know the problems of the constituency. They know the right decision to take in that constituency to address those risks. And they also recognise that voters and members have agency. They don't need to be told who to vote for. Caerphilly showed us that. They gathered together, they made the right choices, the right decision, and they kept the right out.
Thank you. That's it. Lovely. Thank you. Right, okay, so everybody, thank you for answering all those questions. You all did very well. And now we're moving on to closing statements. Now, Maria, would you like to start, but also include your opening statement as well, please? Oh, you've got your mute on, right? Okay.
I've not been very good at that, have I?
Right. Shall we start again? Okay.
Thank you. It's time for us to say Nostar. Thank you for coming. Good night, Cymru. I hope you won the rugby. And I also want to give a special shout out to everyone who has had enough of politics that deliver for the few and not for the many. Everyone that's here tonight that's watching will be probably asking the main question, why should I vote for you? My answer to that is quite simple. I get things done. For decades, I fought shoulder to shoulder with you all, breaking down the barriers that the powerful build to silence us and to protect the few. For 6 long, hard years, I stood as did many of us, against the Labour establishment. And like so many of us, I still carry the scars. We will never allow your party to be poisoned by the right's divisive tactics that scapegoat the vulnerable, disable people, refugees fleeing war, branding them scroungers, blaming them for every hardship in our communities, all to hide the truth that profit, greed, and the arms trade are put before people worldwide. In community after community, I've organised with you, winning better services. And that is how we smash the far right's toxic, vile narrative of blame and division. Together, in your party, we can build something uniquely historic. The first truly member-led party this country has ever seen, rooted in communities where every voice is heard and inclusion is in our hearts. Together, we will create a fairer, greener, more hopeful Cymru. Affordable homes, an NHS that cares, without endless waits, without people lying in corridors on trolleys. Secure green jobs. Valleys powering a renewable nation, and real power in the hands of the many, not the few. So this is our moment and this is our movement. Please, let's do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maria. Okay, right. Lizzie, would you like to make your closing statement, please?
Yes, thank you. Comrades, this is an election for your CEC rep, and we need to do right by Welsh members. There's at least 16 branches already in Wales. The work is already being done. But Central Your Party must stop constraining our members and hand over the official keys to Your Party Wales. In order to move forward and solve our problems, we need to be willing to name and be proactive in addressing them. We need access to our data, our finances, and another CEC seat for better Welsh representation and gender balance. We need a CEC representative who will do right by Welsh members. I will continue to fight for ordinary members and be a strong voice on the CEC. As I'm an independent candidate, I'm accountable only to Welsh members, not to a slate and not to Westminster politicians. I want to create a party that is democratic, member-led and unapologetically socialist, but I can only do that with your help. I recently attended a meeting held by the Bridgend branch, and this was a great opportunity for questions. I'd be happy to attend any branch meeting in Wales to answer your questions and hear your concerns to bring to the CEC. I'll put more info on my Facebook or email me at lizzie4cec@gmail.com. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lizzie. Okay, you ready, Sue?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay, if you'd like to make your closing statement. Thank you.
Yeah. So people are crying out for a different kind of politics, but that can't be an empty slogan. We've got to do things differently in our branches and in our communities. And it's all about listening. And the CEC has a huge role to play in setting this culture in the party. We need a CEC that isn't constantly at war with itself. That's why we need independent members to break down the antagonism between the two slates. The many with Jeremy Corbyn and Grassroots left with Sara Sultana. But actually, we've got an awful lot in common across the board about the changes we want to see in the world. When we collaborate, when we use our collective mind, our diverse perspectives and varied knowledge bases, we come up with something much better than any of us could come up with alone. So I'm asking you to rank the independents 1, 2 and 3 on your ballot for a CEC that doesn't have internal conflict built in. And this is what I'm going to do to make the communication between Wales and the CEC happen. I'll set up online meetings so members can share ideas with each other and me. I'll take ideas and comments and suggestions to the CEC and bring back answers. I will be available to members by email, and I'll come and visit your branches at least once a year and I look forward to meeting you all.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, and finally, moving on to Martin. Martin, would you like to make your closing statement, please?
Yes, thank you very much for that. My message is clear. No factions, no slates. Let us concentrate on what unites us, not on our differences. Unity must be our strength. We need to give a clear message that in Wales we are going to do things our way, in a way that reflects what is important to our communities. The Labour Party is currently in disarray and crisis, and it is a crisis that has been brought about by years of factional infighting, where what was important was winning the internal power battle rather than working towards meaningful societal change. The establishment of your party offers British socialists a unique opportunity to build a new and powerful social movement rooted in communities. But to do this, we need to build bridges, not walls. That's my final statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Martin. Okay, everybody. Well, I think that's the end of the session. Thank you very much for coming. And I'll let you all get on and catch the end of the rugby. I don't know who's winning, but thank you very much. And I hope everybody watching has found it helpful. Yes. So there's been a lot of pressure on Wales this afternoon between this Hustings and the rugby. And I'm glad we managed to sort all the technical glitches out and everybody was able to participate. It's been really, really interesting listening to all your statements and answering these questions. And I hope that's really helpful for everybody who is making up their mind of who to vote for. But thank you for putting yourselves forward as candidates.
Thank you, Mary, as well.
I think it's amazing. Thank you. So, diolch yn fawr iawn I pawb and nos da. Okay.
Nos da.
Thank you. Thank
Nos
you,
da.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Double.